Hi, welcome back to our CS 112 class, and this is the class to learn the JavaScript programming, and this is the module 2. So we will be getting started fast with the JavaScript. The goal of this module is to get you off to a good start with JavaScript. um, if you are a new programmer, then you need this rapid jump start. But if you have some programming experience, you should be rapidly able to go through these contents. So I'm not going through in details about the objectives, but basically we will be learning the specification of the JavaScript application, and um, in order to do the coding, testing, and debugging the application. So when we talk about JavaScript, let's start with very basic topic. um, we saw, in the previous module we have seen that how we can use the script elements to include the JavaScript for an application that is a separate file, but you can also code JavaScript directly within a script element. So we will be learning more about both ways, as here. So to be precise, there are two attributes of the script element. If you like, just if you have seen in the last module, you will use this element to include the JavaScript that is in a separate external file. So here in this particular example, you see here, we use script source. Source is the source of the JavaScript file. So this is an example from the book itself. So I can share you that example. So here in my VS Code terminal, you can see that this is the chapter 2 example, and you can clearly see here that we can use JavaScript in many ways, but you could use it basically to, so you can use it um, as a JavaScript file itself, where you define the source to be that file. So in this example it's different, but you can see, like in our previous example, where we clearly said that email list.js, this is the source. Source means where the file is, and you can see from the path it is at the same level as the index.html file is. That means in the chapter 1, index.html file was here, and email list.js is also here, right? So that's how we can, that is one of the ways to include the JavaScript. So this is the first way, source way. Now you can also see that there is a type attribute, right? So what does that mean? It means, first of all, the source attribute is used to refer to the external file. Now this type attribute, which you can also use with the value like text or JavaScript, and this value actually signifies the type of the external file. However, what happens, we are using HTML5. With HTML5, this type attribute is redundant, because the assumption is that all files that are referred to in script elements contain JavaScript. But you can also see the type attribute in the legacy code, or in some online examples if you do Google, for example. So here, in this particular example, that calculate underscore mpg.js, it's a external file that is imported in the script, itself. I mean, inside, imported into the HTML itself. But you can use the script in different way as well, I mean, you can also embed the JavaScript inside your HTML code, just like this one. Let's say this one. So in this is an example MPG. I mean, you are just calculating miles per gallon. So it says enter miles driven, then it gives you the gallon, enter the gas used, and then you do miles per gallons. That's about it. So you can clearly see here that you can embed the script inside the file, inside the HTML file. Let's run it very quickly. So in order to run it, what you should do, you should go to the run. There is a tab called run here in the top. Click there and you can do run without debugging. When you do that, you can see it. See this one. This is running, so you can enter the miles driven, let us say 60 miles, and the gallons of the gas used, let's say 145 gallons, let's say. Sorry, not it's too much. I mean, you can mention something like 60 miles, it is just like 3 gallon gas used, or 2.5 gallon gas used. Then if you tell OK, then you see that miles per gallon is 30. Looks like a, I mean, good car, right? So that is about, I mean, this is the way it is calculating the stuff. So I'm quitting the application, and you can see that this script is embedded inside the HTML. So the JavaScript used in this way can be, I mean, this can be said that it is an embedded JavaScript. So we got two types of, I mean, two ways of using the JavaScript. First of all, including a JavaScript to an external file, and secondly, embedding a JavaScript inside a HTML file. The next thing we would like to learn is to use no script element. You see there in the yellow highlight, there is a part of the JavaScript called no script. So no script means no JavaScript there. So it may so happen that your browser, whatever browser you are using, the JavaScript in that browser, JavaScript is not enabled. So this is a backup plan for that. I mean, if your JavaScript is not enabled, then you use an element called no script. Now, if the JavaScript is enabled, then this no script element will not be activated. This will be activated only if the JavaScript is not enabled in the browser. Okay. In the legacy code, in the past, people used to use this no script as a backup plan. Like, if you don't have JavaScript, then they tend to include all the functionalities of the page inside the no script part. Here you can see, for example, under header you have a no script, under footer you have a no script. But today, I mean, everything is so dynamic that we do not use the no script as a backup plan. It is very hard, in fact, to put everything without any JavaScript functionality inside an HTML element. So this is used for an informational purpose right now, just to let you know that your browser's JavaScript is not enabled. Now we are going to learn the basic syntax rules for the JavaScript. I mean, when you do programming, you must have noticed that each language has their own set of syntaxes. If you learn Visual Basic, if you learn C++, if you learn Java, if you learn Python, they have uh, certain syntaxes defined, and you have to code based on that syntaxes, right? So JavaScript has similar syntaxes. So first of all, the JavaScript is case sensitive. This means that the uppercase and lowercase letters are treated as different letters for the JavaScript. The second rule is that JavaScript statements should end with a semicolon. That is mandatory. That way it will be easier to tell where one statement ends and the next one begins. The third rule is that the JavaScript ignores additional white spaces in the statements. Since white space includes space, tabs, and new line characters, this lets you break long statements into multiple lines so they are easily readable. To whom? To the programmer, not to the end user, of course. I mean, you have to be careful to follow the guidelines about where to split the statement. Finally, JavaScript has a strict mode that restricts the sorts of things we can do in the script, right? For example, I mean, we will see how to declare using the keywords. Now, in case of the non-strict mode usage, JavaScript also allows you to declare variable without using a keyword. However, doing so leads to some unexpected behavior which can lead to bugs and that are hard to track down. So basically what we understand here is that, I mean, mentioning strict mode means you have to define all the variables, what type of variable it is, the keywords. Now it reveals, so that actually tells us an important property of the JavaScript. That property is it is a weakly typed language. You can you can define a variable to be of any type on the fly. We will learn about it later. Here is an example of a JavaScript code that follows the syntax rules. Okay, how about I share you the real code that is in the chapter 1 we dealt with, that is this one, email list.js. So you see here they use the keyword use strict. So that means that you have to define each keyword properly. Okay, so this is an example where you can use the strict mode. This is written in the strict mode of the JavaScript. So maybe there is an exercise, take home exercise. You can do it yourself. Now that you know how to run a JavaScript file, right? I mean, you have the Visual Studio Code installed in your previous module. Now you know how to run. How can you make this code not to use the use strict keyword? If you don't use it, what are the flexibilities you are going to get, and what are the pitfalls you are going to get out of that? Okay, So next part is how do you split a statement over two or more lines. So you can split a statement after an arithmetic or relational operator, such as, I mean, whatever the arithmetic operations, an opening brace, the bracket, parentheses, whatever. But do not split a statement after an identifier, a value, or a return keyword, a closing or closing parenthesis. So here, coming to here, you can see that you are breaking the line here, right? You are basically splitting the statement. You could have done it in a single line, but you are not doing that. We put a curly brace, then we basically split the sentence in the next line. We let it go to the next line, and then after this we have another line. Okay, so that's the way. That's what I meant by how to split a statement over two or more lines. So what are the rules to create the identifier for a JavaScript? First of all, identifiers can only contain the letters, numbers, underscore, and the dollar sign. Okay, so it cannot contain some special characters. It means like exclamatory things like that. Identifier cannot start with a number. Identifiers are case sensitive. Identifiers can be of any length. They cannot be the same as the reserved word. Like, you cannot use int as an identifier, or you cannot use string as an identifier, because int and string, these are reserved word. Int represents an integer variable, string represents a text, I mean the string variable. You should avoid using the global properties and methods as identifiers. So leading to our previous slide, you can see here some of the valid identifiers in the JavaScript, such as you can do subtotal, that is a valid identifier. Identifiers simply mean the variable name. In the mathematics, you have frequently used let x equals 5. So this x is the identifier. That's what we are talking about. Then you can see all these identifiers, right? These are the valid identifiers. And the camel casing versus snake casing, you can see left hand side is the camel casing, right hand side is snake casing. I mean, there is no right or wrong here. I mean, both of them are going to be compiled, going to produce the same results, but it's a matter of convention, style that you are following. Sometimes when you work as a team of developer, as a part of a team of developer for a company, for your educational institutions, for a project, for an academic project, whatever your future leads you to, if it is leading you to doing some programming work, in that case, actually, I mean, together with the full team, we decide what is going to be our convention. If we decide as a team that we are going to use camel case, then we are going to use camel case um, all through the application. So these are conventions. Okay, and along with that, we can also make some naming recommendations. Uh, we need to make meaningful names for the identifiers, right? I mean, for example, suppose we are calculating the price of an item. Suppose I'm writing a code for a grocery store, and then I'm asked to create a module that will calculate the prices. Then I am using an identifier that determines the price of an item. So I can use an identifier called item price. I cannot use it like any ad hoc number. ad hoc identifier like xyz equals whatever, the price, the number. The problem is xyz will work, but you will not understand. I mean, the code that you are writing today as a part of your enterprise, it is very likely that it will be used by somebody else moving forward. The companies, they write the code, that is the company's intellectual asset, and they maintain the code for years and years, tens, 20 years. So there can be hundreds, or for a big company, thousands of people can read your code. So uh, if you use the meaningful identifier, then it will be easier to maintain. You need to be consistent. I mean, just like I said, either use the camel casing or the snake casing, or if you use snake casing, use lowercase for all letters. you know there are certain reserved word in the JavaScript. As I was saying, I mean, like, you see int here, it's a reserved word. You can see switch. I mean, these are all the keyword that we use in to accomplish different things in the program. So you should not be using your identifier's name as these ones. I mean, if you do that, you will get a programming error, of course. Okay. The next important item is how do you use comments inside the code. First of all, why do you need to do the comment? You see the comments here, I mean, the highlighted comments. I mean, you should use comments as this is the free text, so you should be using a symbol like backslash. um, is it the backslash? It should be the forward slash, right? Forward slash star, then you put the comment, and then star forward slash, or you can use the second one, double forward slash. This is the comment. Comments let you add descriptive notes on your code that are ignored by the JavaScript engine, the compiler, or you can say that interpreter. Later on, these comments can help you or someone who uses this code in the future to understand the code whenever it needs to be modified. So you can see these comments. I mean, so as I said, there are two types of comments. One kind is first, I mean, it's a free text. If you want to put a lot of things, then recommendation is you should use forward slash star, and then you use your descriptive comment, and then you have to end it with star forward slash. Or if you have a single line comment, then you can use it like double slash, and you can see that along with the anywhere in the code after the statement, after the line break, before the line break, in fact, you can put the double forward slashes as the comment. You can put it anywhere in the code. That is, but the thing is, after you put the comment, the remaining part on the same line, I mean, two forward slashes, remaining part on the same line, you cannot use anything like that as a code anymore. So it has to be, I mean, when you put a comment, then after that you cannot put any JavaScript code at all. This is called the single line comment. The above the first one is called descriptive comment. Okay. Now you can also use it, right? The way you declare in initialize a constant is as follows. I mean, you do constant name and equals value. For example, const count equals 1. So now if you do count equal to count plus 1, then you will get a type error because you cannot change a constant, right? That's what you are trying to do, because you defined count as a constant, but now you are trying to increase it, change it, so you cannot do it. So to handle the variables and constant declarations, JavaScript places all variable and constant declarations in memory, and this is called hoisting. When the variable that's declared with the var keyword is hoisted, JavaScript initializes it with a value of undefined. Because of this, you can access the variable before you declare it, but its value will be undefined. When a variable isn't declared with let keyword is hoisted, JavaScript does not initialize it. That's also true of a constant. Because of this, you cannot access the variable or constant before you declare it. So you see here, you can access a variable before it is declared. So you can put alert val1, but it will be showing you undefined. But then var equal to val1, var val1 equals value, then you have the value, and then if you do alert, then it will show up, right? Quick example. For example, I'm just let's say I'm landing this code. So if I run it, it should look like this. So this one, right? Let me put it stop, and then I can do like this here. Let's say we have the miles, right? If you do alert miles, what should be the value of it? Let's see, right? So we should be saving it and then run it. So you cannot get anything because something happened. Here this this miles, this value, it doesn't have the value. So now here, let's say we can put alert, and then we can do miles, and now run it. So let's say 5. So you see this alert, this value is displayed. So you can clearly see whenever the value constant is defined, then you expect to see the values. Now let us say we have a variable, we define let x equals 5. Okay, I'm just putting it, x doesn't have to do anything with the miles per gallon calculation. Just make sure we understand. So alert, let's say x, and then if we save it and try to run it, so it's not producing anything because it gets messed up. But as soon as you put this value back in the next line, then you should be getting some value here. That's it. Okay, so there are numerous terms related to variables and constants. Go through these slides and get some concept about these terms. So the next part is the arithmetic operators. When you do some calculations, you are going to use these operators. It is very apparent. The plus sign is for addition, minus sign is for subtraction, and so on. But here you can see that modulus operator, which signifies that divides the right operand into the left operand and returns the remainder. So if you say a variable x modulus 2 equals 0, that means it is an even number. Because it does not have, it has a 0 remainder. And plus plus is an increment operator, it adds 1 to the operand, and minus minus is a decrement operator. The order of precedence for arithmetic operators is given here. I mean plus plus operator from left to right, minus minus is from left to right. The third one, I mean left, it is also left to right. I mean you can see here the precedence. So the examples you can see here, 5 plus 7 12. I mean it's arithmetic operations, of course. So interesting things are counter plus plus, it is counter equal counter plus 1, it is equivalent to this one. And similarly minus minus also is equivalent to writing counter equals counter minus 1. Okay, so here for example 3 plus 4 star 5, so this multiplication is done first, then that becomes 20 and then 23. So you can see clearly what is done first, what is done next. So here the code that calculates the sales tax, you can do like subtotal equals 200, and then you do the tax percent, and then you have the tax amount and the total. So if you put the numbers, it will be like that. So it is shown here. The most useful compound assignment operators are like plus equals. It means let's say subtotal equals 74.95, and then you do subtotal plus equals 20. That means subtotal becomes it is incremented by 20, that is 94.95. And if it is minus equals, then it is decremented by 1. If it is multiply equals, that means it is getting multiplied by zero point 0.8. Okay, three ways to increment the variable by 1. So you can see here uh, the first one is 1, I mean that is a declaration, and then you can do counter equal counter plus 1, you can do counter plus equals 1, and counter plus plus. Okay, the floating point result that is not precise, I mean you can see here that 74.95 is sum total, and then if you do the cell tax calculation, then you see that one. uh, so when you do some types of arithmetic operations with decimal values, the results are not always precise. That's because the decimal values are stored internally as floating point numbers. Primary problem with this is that an equality comparison may not return true. The concatenation operator for the string, suppose you want to add two strings together, you can put something, I mean xyz plus something. So let's say we want to do this, I mean here we are again pulling it from here. So let's say we have this JavaScript, and then we can do say you have I'm just trying to find out some examples, making up some examples. So here this is the example place, and we can do, let's say let x equals this plus is, say this is, I mean you are concatenating two strings. So if you do alert x, then this is what you are going to see. So if you run it, so let's see using the Chrome what happened. Something bad had happened. So it is just like this one. You can just go to the JavaScript and just you can concatenate two strings in this way. And now if you try to run this, it is simple. It is, you run this and then you will get, see, ABC space DEF. So this is the concatenation of the strings. So that's how we do that. So I mean there are numerous examples here, and you can do the concatenating multiple lines, you can do here. So basically you continue, and that way be it will be continuing to be concatenated. Now some of the escape sequences that can be used is \n is a new line, backslash the single quote, you put a single quotation mark in the string itself, so you have to escape. That way you put these special characters on the string. So let's say, I mean, go back to our classic example, I mean our code example. So if we do like here, if we continue doing this, you can do, sorry, here you can concatenate and you can put, let us say, backslash single quote. Then you should see a single quote out here, and here's how it will play out. So you see this single quote is visible here. So that's how it works. Okay. So some of the codes of Unicode characters, you can see, if you put those characters, you will see, for example, U00A9, that is a copyright symbol. Sorry, from the current slide. So if we go there and do that again here, plus let's say we do backslash U00A9, then I guess you are going to see some copyright symbol. Let's see if it works. Oh no, not that way. I mean, you have to go here and then you can run it. So you see the copyright symbol pops up. Yeah, it works. So that's how the Unicode characters work. Now you can use the Unicode characters in a as a part of the string. That's what we showed you, right? So the common methods of the window object, that is alert, prompt, I mean these are the common methods for the window object. So how do you use the objects and methods and properties? I mean, simply putting, an object is a collection of methods and properties. A method performs a function or does an action. A property is a data item that relates to the object. So to get started with the objects, methods and properties, you can see there are some simple methods, like you can, in the syntax of this book, some words are italicized and some are not. The words that are not italicized are keywords, always the same. So you can see, the for the first example, you can see the window.alert, you can see some string, you can pass some string there, and then also you can see the prompt, and also the syntax of calling a method of an object is kind of object name. You have to write the object name dot method name. So there, the statement that calls the alert method of the window object. Let's say window is an object. Okay, we have defined window object. It may not be a real object, I'm just saying is an example. So window.alert, I mean it will, I mean you are basically calling a method under the window object. So that's how we call it. So the statement that calls the prompt method with the object may, object name omitted, you can see window, I mean user entry equals prompt. This is a test of the proper prompt method, and you put 100. Let's say, I mean if we put it together inside our sample code here, you can see we can write constant user entry equals, let's say we write prompt, and then we put this is a prompt, some arbitrary prompt, and its value is 100. So then you should be able to see something like this. let's let's try it out, right? So here if we run it, so where did our prompt go? Oh, that should be it. So now if we run it, oh, not that way, you have to go to index and then run it. So you see the prompt and its default value is 100. So that's how, I mean, it is coded. This is the usage of the prompt. So one property of the window object is location. I mean, window is a given object in JavaScript. You don't need to mention it all the times. I mean, window means the current window that you are working with. So the location, the property name, the alert, you can see the window location, all those things. The two methods of the window object are parse int and parse float. The parsing that's done by the parse methods, I mean, only first number in the string is returned. Leading and trailing spaces are removed. If the first character cannot be converted to a number, nan is returned. So I mean, you can see here the nan. For example, if you run this code here, so okay, let's put okay, and then if we join the list in this way, let's say we do this and this and then join the list. Okay, I mean, nan is not possible because you have the validations placed around, but if you don't get any value, then you will get nan. Okay, so that's how it is. I mean, window, for example, you can see so for example, if you put it like that, here I'm just trying to find the code. So here, this is the prompt. Let's say we do here parse int, and then we put, let's say, test. This is not an integer, right? You should get some nan, something like that. So if you now run the code, so you will get nan here because you cannot parse a string with an integer parser. Okay, so that's about it. So you can get a lot of parsing example. So now the next part, the writing. So now we are using the write method of the document object. So the example here basically it shows how to use the write method. Here an HTML page contains two script elements. One is basically, I mean, each of them is embedded JavaScript code that uses the write method, right? I mean, you can see there are two scripts elements, both of them are embedded. Okay, so although not shown here, you can also include HTML elements within the parentheses of the write method. Then that's it. I mean, so you can use the document write, I mean, today, I mean, that way it will be writing on your DOM object. So basically on your website, I mean, your HTML page, it will be written. Okay, so the method of the number object, I mean, you can do the toFixed. It's a method pass the numeric literal 3, which means that it will round the value of pi to 3. So let's say, I mean, here pi dot toFixed this 3, that means it will display 3.142. I mean, up to 3 decimal point it will be fixed. So the miles per gallon, I mean, we have done it already. So that's MPG application that we have tried to solve in this chapter. So here MPG calculation, you can see you have the index file here, um, and then you have an embedded JavaScript here. So if you try to run it, it will look like this. It will look like this. So enter mile driven, let us say 660. Enter gallons of gas used, 2.5. So you get I mean 60 by 2, because 2 is an integer, so that's why 2.5 is treated as 2, and then you get 30. Okay. So you can also see the test scores example in your book. I'm just using your book examples, so it can get us to a lot. So basically these are the playgrounds for us. So you can see the test score here. Enter the test code. So you are doing the parse int, so you have to enter an integer, then score 1, score 2, score 3, and then you get the average. So basically what you do here, you come here, and then basically you see here you have a link, CSS file link, of course, and then you have a link, the script, the externally linked file. Then you run it. Let's run this without debugging. Oh no, sorry, it's wrong. So you come here and then you run without debugging. So what is going on here? um, so let's run it, run without debugging, and then we do the test code. Let's say first test code is 90, second one is 89, third one is 93. So once you do that, you see the average score is basically 90. Okay. So these are all integer, that's why you are getting the rounded off numbers. So that's all we have learned today. So it's not hard, right? I mean, it's pretty simple. So basically what we learned is the basic syntaxes of the JavaScript and how to do some elementary arithmetic operations, including the concatenations, the manipulation of the string, doing the prompt, parsing an integer, parsing any type of variable, and so on. So I guess, I mean, it will be a fun chapter, and don't forget to go through the lab and ask me any question you might have on the lab. And I must tell you that you should be submitting the discussions, and in order to get the credit for your attendance. So that's very important. That's super important, as said by the school. So don't forget to mark your attendance. Okay. So have a nice week, and we will be talking together pretty soon. And if you want, you can join my office hour as well, Wednesday. You can see the Zoom, the recurring Zoom call, where you can join. Just if you have any questions, any concerns, questions, anything, if you need any help with your assignments, that's the time you can call me. Okay. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.